Media. It has existed since the existence of humans itself, whether it's physical, digital, or broadcast.
Here in the studio, a moment of silence. Hooters is closing.
All of them?
What?
Maybe.
We all have a certain type of media we cherish in our hearts. With that being said, as of recently, I noticed that when it comes to media in the anime community, the people who indulge or come across an anime series might honestly have some of the worst takes I've ever heard come out of a human's mouth. Media literacy, one might say, is the ability to identify, understand, and interpret the themes and message a piece of media is trying to convey. Such messages and themes can be the idea of morality, the cycle of hatred, existentialism, and the critiques on humanity, just to name a few. Now, while all nice and dandy, these messages are often missed or straight up misconstructed for each anime out there. The genre really doesn't matter. Shonen, slice of life, sci-fi, romance, you name it, they all suffer from this problem. Someone would generally watch a clip of an anime that has story, exposition, compelling characters, and deep psychological subtext that makes the audience actually think, and would just write it off as bad just because the MC isn't strong. If y'all don't already know, I'm talking about ReZero. So I have two college friends that I met during my freshman year, and our days just consisted of us goofing around in our group chats, and we would meet around dinner time to talk about whatever. Eventually, our conversations kind of just led to ReZero being mentioned at least once for every conversation we had, due to ReZero being one of my favorite animes out there. Most of the time, it was mainly just both of them making jokes about Subaru being too weak and not having that dog in him like Sanjun Mu. And geez, don't get me started on him. That's for another day. And he's not the only person who thinks this.
Good Lord, what is happening in there? Aurora Borealis?
There are a good chunk of people who don't like and or hate ReZero due to Subaru being annoying at the beginning, or him crying because he went through the most horrendous, gruesome pain a person has to go through. Like, genuinely look into my face and tell me you would be able to take all of that if you're in Subaru's position. People really do lack sympathy. Now, I do know ReZero is an anime that won't click for everyone, but at least try to understand why Subaru is the way he is in season 1, and why he keeps on making bad decision after bad decision. Like, it's not hard, man. It's like he expected Subaru to be the typical isekai protag who gets reincarnated with a huge harem and has every power in the book in order to slash down enemies with little to no struggle. Kinda reminds me of a certain someone. ReZero isn't some power fantasy. It's about a guy who really had nothing going on for himself until he was summoned into another world, thinking that he's the main character with cheat abilities and gets respect for simply being transported in Lagunica. His behavior of being corny and talking a big game about himself was really him hiding the self-hatred from his past life in Japan. Episode 13 captures this mainly with him being entitled and announcing himself as Emilia's white knight at the royal selection, challenging the man himself, Julius, due to his huge ego while embarrassing Emilia in the process. Now, some may say this episode is probably the worst in the season, but I would have to disagree. The fact that it makes you this uncomfortable and embarrassed for Subaru just goes to show how well written it is. So much so, I would say you shouldn't skip this episode, since it's very important towards Subaru's development by episode 18, where he hits rock bottom after many trauma-inducing failed loops and admits that he hates himself. This is where Rem comes in to refute the claims that he's a worthless and rather an amazing guy that has worth. So now he grew from trying to be a cool anime protagonist to someone who's more authentic and actually knows when to rely on others rather than trying to carry the world on his shoulders. My main basis of this argument is that Subaru is supposed to be flawed from the beginning, and he has insecurities that he had to face for himself. Being from a fantasy world wouldn't change that. Whew! Do you see why I care about this anime that much? Anyway, there have been other cases of animes that have suffered a similar fate with the media literacy test, and that has to be Attack on Titan, which is also one of my favorite animes out there. During the release of season 4, many people dropped the show or complained that Hajime changed his whole story last second from a survival horror into geopolitics with the Marleys and Eldians, which, not gonna lie, may seem that way if you weren't paying attention. The anime had hints into human-on-human war and state propaganda starting as early as season 1 and was expanded upon in season 3 with the basement. Like, did y'all seriously forget this scene?
If we did cross the sea and we killed our enemies, would we finally be free?
It's like people wanted a us versus them monster slashing anime when Attack on Titan wasn't even about that. We knew about the Titans being human back in season 2, and the aspect of Aaron's character changing was hinted at when bro packed up 2 traffickers at 9. I feel sorry for the people who dropped it after season 3, cause they genuinely missed out on peak. Y'all can argue about the ending though. The last anime I would like to mention is Jujutsu Kaisen. Now, I haven't seen much discussion of not understanding the story, but more so not putting any importance in character development. Many just like to see flashy fight scenes while also power scaling characters without really caring much about the overall plot at hand. I have seen many TikToks and subreddits of people not viewing JJK as a narrative about the grief and trauma of being a sorcerer and battling curses. Rather, it's people making tier lists on who has the most feats, who's a fraud, or who has the most aura. Like, it gets to a point, guys. As an example, you could say Gojo was nerfed during the encounter of Kenjaku and got himself sealed when he could have dodged it, when we can clearly see that he was emotionally vulnerable seeing the body of his longtime friend being used by someone else. To be clear, I don't think there were many people complaining about this, but I thought I should mention it anyway. When you reduce characters to just statistics on who can be who, then what's the point of even engaging to the media itself? Now, fellow viewer, you may be asking, how did we even end up here in the first place? And to answer that question, it all stems from the recent phenomenon of short form content. Ever since the rise of TikTok, some people's exposure to some anime out there is from a 15 to 30 second clip or edit that may misrepresent the show's content, which in return causes a different expectation going in. This happened with the whole Aura Monster meme in ReZero. Also, I'm not saying all edits do this, but some do, and it could be to the detriment to the anime, cause now you have fans who clearly don't understand the elements the author was conveying through subtext. The 3 anime I've listed today all suffer from certain audiences not engaging with their stories, not reading in between the lines, and taking things at face value, which is no way to consume media at all. To wrap this up, it's okay for characters to have flaws and grow from them, and it's more than okay for shows to have you actually read in between the lines in order to understand the bigger picture. Not everything needs to be spelled out for you. And lastly, please engage in the actual content of storytelling. If you genuinely just want to see hype moments in Aura, then I have the perfect anime for you, but don't be looking crazy when people look at you funny. Well, that's all I gotta say. Peace out and take care. And also, for my college friend who's watching this video, you better watch